remember, God promised by way of the covenant of the rainbow, God's rainbow, the real rainbow, that God would never again destroy the earth by a flood of water, but next time the global destruction of the world would come by the way of fire. Right? So 2 Peter 3, 6 through 7 says, whereby the world that then was, being overflowed with water, perished, but the heavens and the earth which are now, by the same word, are kept in store, reserved unto fire against the day of judgment and perdition of ungodly men. Right? So by way of default, those left behind are ungodly. They're the wicked. They're the unbelievers. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. We would have been in their place as well. I'm not singling them out and saying we're just better than them, because we're saved. It's by imputation of Christ that we're not ungodly and wicked. But the fact remains that without the sacrifice of Jesus, there is no mercy. And so now God is going to pour out his wrath. And here's an amazing parallel in the Bible. The Bible says that before Jesus returns to judge the world, that it will be like the days of Noah and the days of Lot. And so what are the days of Noah and Lot? Let's take a look at that really quick. Luke 17 says, and as it was in the days of Noe, Noe is just the Greek version of Noah, don't get confused by that. And as it was in the days of Noe, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noe entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise also as it was in the days of Lot. They did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. And so we're already beginning to see that in major ways. Noah's days were characterized by violence and a lack of faith. So when the Bible says it'll be like the days of Noah, it'll be days of violence. And we see violence increasing even in our own city. In the short 8 or 9 years that I've been here in Spokane, crime has risen dramatically, especially in the last couple of years with all of these liberal run policies. Now, Genesis 6:11 says of Noah's day, the earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And so there we have the reason for God destroying the earth by the flood. The earth was filled with violence. There was violence in the heart of man continually, it says. And so this was the reason why God destroyed the earth with a flood. And the days of Lot are a reference to the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And so the last days will also be characterized but by the events that we saw described in the book of Genesis about Sodom and Gomorrah. And so this is a reference to that time. What was the reason why God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah? Well, Ezekiel 16, 49 through 50 says, behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister Sodom, pride, right? Pride. So who's a banner for pride today but the alphabet mafia? Right? Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy, and they were haughty and committed abomination before me. That's the abomination of homosexuality and transgenderism and the LGBT. Therefore, I took them away as I saw good. Right? So God is not, politically correct. He's not, concerned with that. His only concern is that it needs to stop. And he went to great lengths to cause it to stop by destroying an entire city, an entire nation of people in order to set an example for us and for other nations about, his warnings against such filth. In the New Testament, Jude 1:7 also tells us, even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh. Right? What is strange flesh? That means queer flesh. It's unnatural, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. Right? So that word strange flesh, it's not natural. It's not what they were supposed to be doing. And he says that this was an example for us, for other nations, of exactly what not to do. Yet here we are doing exactly that. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Sodom is a picture of God's wrath. And this is why I'm bringing this up. This isn't just to rail on the Sodomites today. This is because there's a real parallel, again in Luke 17:29, but the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. So are you seeing the parallels here? Just as God rained down fire and brimstone upon the inhabitants of Sodom and Gomorrah, so will he do at the end of the age when he rains down fire from heaven on the LGBT and the wicked and the ungodly and their supporters. And so all those left behind on the earth who missed the rapture because they rejected Jesus will be judged. And the parallel is exact. Okay, just as the Lord had angels, remember the Lord's angels had to come and gather Lot and his family together out of Sodom. They literally had to take his hand and escort him out of Sodom before its fiery destruction. So will God send his angels to gather together his elect from the four winds and take them out of the world prior to destroying the earth and the world with that same fire out of heaven that he rained down upon Sodom and Gomorrah. So the parallels are stunning and exact. The angels come together, they gather the elect, just as, they came and gathered Lot out of Sodom. And so Sodom and Gomorrah is a typology. It's a picture, a typology of God's wrath upon the world and the unbelieving. And so it's the same pattern all the way from Genesis to Revelation. The two bookends of the Bible have the same exact message.